Let me give you one more example of how this works. Brandon here was a client of mine. I did his evaluation. I ended up referring him to residential treatment. He was 19. His drug of choice was marijuana. And because I was already working with him, I was able to give his mother RehabWorks right away, and she completed the entire course within like the first week that he was there in treatment. I know that she literally did Module 1 the same day that he checked into treatment. So that means that from day one, she had a good understanding of what it means to be diagnosed with substance use disorder, and in particular, she was prepared for dealing with marijuana denial. Then by day 3 or 4, she'd learned about setting boundaries and making the client take responsibility for treatment. And by the end of that first week, she already had a good understanding of what the treatment plan should look like. So I got a text message from her one day, and she just left a family therapy session, and the message said, "Brandon says he's homesick and wants to come home. He's also saying that because he just smokes pot, it's not a problem, and he's not as bad as everyone else there." Then her message went on to say, "Thanks for helping me become an educated consumer. He's not going anywhere." So it's not uncommon for families to find themselves in a position like this, especially these days with the marijuana issue that we were just talking about. But let's take a look here at how RehabWorks ended up helping Brandon's mom know how to handle this situation and ultimately avoid what probably would have turned into a failed treatment episode had she let him discharge before he was ready to go. So we're going to look at this in terms of what we call treatment planning. This is how counselors write up treatment plans. We identify problems, then what the goal is for each of the problems, and then the interventions are what we're going to do to accomplish the goal. So if we think of this in terms of family treatment planning, we can point to specific content from RehabWorks to use as interventions for addressing some of these specific problems. So here we got problem number 1, which is Brandon doesn't think he has a problem because it's only marijuana. Okay, we're going to have mom watch video 5 from Module 1. That's going to teach her that just because he doesn't go through physical withdrawal when he doesn't have his pot, it doesn't mean that it's not a problem for him. And it's going to go on to help her understand that it's not a logical argument to say that because it's just marijuana, he's not as bad as the other people there. He has a substance use disorder and it needs to be treated. Then problem 2 is he's homesick and he wants to come home. So here we're going to have mom watch video 2 from Module 3, which is about using the stages of change to identify exactly where a client is in their treatment process. And that video in particular is the one that's going to teach her that skipping stages is what leads to cracks in the foundation, and also that it's not uncommon for clients to think that they're further along in the process than they really are, which is exactly what was occurring in this situation. And then if we combine the two problems of he doesn't think it's a problem because it's only marijuana and he's homesick and he wants to come home, we're going to have mom use the transition checklist worksheet in Module 3 so that she can be really clear about what being prepared for discharge should look like and being able to see where he is from the perspective of the stages of change. And as she said in her text, by becoming an educated consumer, she realized that he wasn't ready to go. And so to sum up how she used RehabWorks to turn what could have easily become a poor treatment outcome into a successful treatment outcome, we're going to see that first of all, she got educated about substance use disorder, which included knowing how to respond to his denial about marijuana. And then she got tools for setting healthy boundaries, and she was able to hold the client accountable for taking responsibility for his own treatment. Then she used the stages of change to identify that he wasn't as far along in his treatment as he wanted her to believe. And finally, the transition checklist worksheet helped her understand what an appropriate discharge plan was going to look like. And as a result, what ended up happening was, instead of leaving after 2.5 weeks, he ended up staying there for a total of about 8 weeks, and mom worked together with the treatment team to make sure they had a really good continuing care plan in place the day he left treatment and that he was committed to it. And the bottom line is this turned out to be a successful case. This guy did really well. But you can also see just how important the family's role can be in determining treatment outcomes. This could have easily gone a different way if she hadn't made that effort to be proactive in her son's treatment. And this type of scenarios happen all the time in treatment.